deep into it. There we go. Cool. That's great. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. When we are sharing those links in chat, it does seem like you're going to need to copy and paste them and then put them because they don't automatically appear as URLs that you could just click to join. So thank you for taking that extra step. Yeah. So we let a couple more folks in out the waiting room. This is the Virtual Platform Warriors session today. So we're going to help you become and learn from you, I'm sure, amazing tips and tricks for doing all of your amazing virtual teaching and virtual facilitation in all of the amazing platforms you're using. So thank you for being here. Naima, do you want to share screen and cover the quick orientation for tech stuff? I think you're muted, Naima. There you go.
Sorry. Yeah, so in the interest of access and equity, I just wanted to give you guys a quick refresher of all the Zoom the features that I'm sure you guys are pretty familiar with already. This and so these are the control, like mute, stop, start, stop video, and chat me if you need any help with anything and I will help you. And this is what it would look like if you're tuning in from a mobile device. So yeah, feel free to reach out if you need it.
Thank you so much. Really quick, we'll do quick intros. Peter, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks, Emily. Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Limata, and I am a teacher in Auckland. I teach second grade, and I'm happy to be here and yeah, share knowledge with you and learn from everybody as well.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll go next. My name is Emily Wirtz. I use she, her pronouns. I'm based in Austin, Texas, and I grew up in Davis, California. So shout out to all those people out there. Wish I could be with you in California this holiday season, but I stay in Texas instead. I am a facilitator and an educator. I mostly work with out of school time and informal learning spaces, so museums, after school programs and things like that, but in that setting do a lot of collaborations with school teachers naturally. And since the pandemic hit, I have been specifically working on teaching people how to use virtual tools, including Zoom, for their teaching. So that is how I got connected with Be the Change Consulting and brought on to help with some of the, logistics around those features and settings. So thank you for being here. And the wonderful Naima, introduce yourself.
I'm Naima. I'm based in Los Angeles, grew up in Los Angeles. Oops, someone's in the waiting room. Okay. Yeah, over quarantine, I've just been watching lots of reality television, spending lots of time with my cat, and, just trying to stay grounded and positive.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. We got a lot of stuff to pack into the day, and we'll walk you all through those things. I think our first activity, Peter's going to kick us off with a virtual name tag session.
All right, and I think we have somebody waiting in the
Yeah.
Yes, welcome everybody, and our first activity is going to be virtual name tags. And Naima, could you share that for me, the slide? And this is how it works. You're going to share us your comfort level on Zoom, and we can follow the prompts. Right, there we go. And once you're done, we can just let us know that you're done with that one. So your name will include your comfort level as well.
Yeah, and if you see, if you open up that participants window, that's where you should be able to access that. I see that Sarah's got it. Chella, great. I'm gonna rename myself with mine. Let's see. I feel like it,
And yeah,
we
just
learn things and then it changes. Yeah. And if you can't change your name for whatever reason to add that number in there, you could go ahead and paste it in chat and we can just follow along. So 1 would be, it's all still pretty overwhelming with this virtual teaching thing. 2 would be getting okay, but pretty unsure. 3 would be somewhat familiar, but lots more to learn. 4 would be pretty used to it by now. 5 would be like, you're gonna join the Warriors as a virtual platform warrior. You're already a classroom virtual wizard. So go ahead, and lots of 3s and 4s, which is definitely, I think, what we're expecting to see. 2, that's great. You're gonna learn so much. I think some of the 4s are probably gonna teach us some of your favorite things, which is wonderful. So that's great. Thank y'all. Naima, do you want to go to the next slide really quick? And I'll just briefly chat about the agenda for today's session. Yeah. I'm going to lead us in a mindfulness and centering activity right after I talk about the agenda. And then we're going to start sharing out and sharing some of our favorite tips and tricks, and then also collecting them from you all. We'll have a quick break just because we know you've already had a long day of probably teaching and conferences this week for lots of folks. And then we're going to try to tap into everybody's wisdom in this space. We have a lot of folks who have been doing lots of hours of teaching, so we want to share your favorite resources, and we'll use breakout rooms for that. So you can also probably connect with a few folks, which is wonderful. And then we're going to launch a poll to do some virtual voting for what features you want me to show you how to use. Followed by another quick break and a quick energizing activity so we can do a little bit of stretching. And then we're going to have a review game of Jeopardy, and then a resource share and some space for questions. I would say throughout the whole session, if you have any questions, go ahead, and I don't mind being interrupted, certainly, so you can come off mute and say them. We'll also be working on monitoring the chat to be able to talk, you know, and take that time to answer questions as they come up, or just like comments and resources. It's great to share all those things. So, Naima, if you want to stop screen share, I'll just look at everybody's wonderful faces for the mindfulness activity. Hi, everyone. Just because we've all had probably a long teaching day, I want to walk you through a quick mindfulness activity that you could lead with your students or maybe just with your fellow teachers. As we're walking through this, I'll kind of play the role of a teacher and you'll play the role of a student, but you don't have to pretend to be a student or act like your students would. You can just enjoy the activity as you would yourself. And think about how you're experiencing the activity. Notice that as it's ongoing. And notice how we're using interpersonal interactions and some of the features of the virtual platform as well to set classroom norms and build community. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use, because I'm a co-host on this call and I have that power, I'm going to use the mute all button, which all participants are muted now. Oh, there we go. Let me see. I have some people joining that are coming off mute. That's okay. And I'm going to ask you to take a minute and find an object near you that represents a feeling of calm and groundedness. Maybe it's an object from nature, a favorite book, could be your cat, if your cat makes you feel grounded, really anything. And grab that and bring it to the call. And then once you have it, if you can come on video, that's great. If you can't, no worries. But if you can set your view to gallery view so you can see everybody on the call, all the videos that you can see, that would be wonderful. And that's up in the upper right hand corner. If you're not seeing it, you could always chat and that's fine. That is great. Thank you for setting it on gallery view. And you can always wave at us if you're having a hard time doing that, and we can track it down for you. And now, can you hold up whatever object you have? And go ahead and share that. Hold it up for a second. Everybody take a minute to see everybody's, what you've got. Sorry, we've got to, every time someone joins, it messes up my mute and unmute. Just no worries. So we're grabbing something that's making us feel calm. We're on mute. If you can be on mute, that's great. Awesome. Thank you so much. And we're just going to take a minute and we're going to reflect on our object as we're quiet. If you're not on mute, if you could go ahead and mute yourself, that'd be wonderful. I'm going to try to keep you muted, but as people join, it gets me off the on mute button, the unmute all or mute all button. So we're going to do a short meditation together to ground us as a community. So hold your object in front of you or on the table or desk in front of you. That's totally fine. And just follow along as we take a minute to slow our breathing down. Feel it nice and even. Feel your breath filling up your chest and your belly. Feel your breath exit your body out through your mouth and your nose. Let's take a deep breath together. Keep your breath slow and steady. Focus on your object. Think about how this object inspires calmness in you and how this object helps you feel grounded. Maybe it inspires a positive memory. Think about that memory for a little bit. Feel the benefits of that memory. Come back to your breathing. Let's take another deep breath together. And let's hold these feelings of groundedness and calm throughout the day. Before we move on, does anybody want to share, hold up their object, or just talk about it if you're just joining from audio only about their object? Maybe you could raise a hand in that participants window or just raise your actual hand and wave, or anybody have an object they want to share or talk about really quick for the class? Yeah, go for it. Let me spotlight you really quick. You can come off mute.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sarah. This is my lolo, that means grandfather in Tagalog. This is his thermos, and that I have commandeered, and it's now mine. And I use it every day to drink tea. I'm constantly drinking tea, and it just makes me feel grounded and connected to my family.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Sarah. Anybody else? Maybe one more? Yeah, let's see. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, and I'm going to spotlight your video real quick.
I didn't get to put anything up because I actually like taking walks. So that's something that I like to do with my family and my boys. I'm a mom. So just, walking is how I stay connected, and just, it keeps me grounded and comfort and things like that.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, thanks so much. Love it. I'm going to put my view back into gallery view. That's the way I like to look at most sessions as much as I possibly can. So yeah, Thank you so much for sharing and for taking some deep breaths with me as we roll into some kind of just the logistics and the tips and tricks for doing virtual sessions. Peter's gonna share some documents and info. So go ahead, Peter.
Right. Welcome again, everybody, and to those that came in late that I didn't say hi to. How are you doing? We're going to be looking at some tips and tricks together, and so I will share some of mine that have been really useful in my classroom for me, and then just presenting whether meetings or whatever it is. But I hope that as we share these together, that you're going to also be reminded of that little thing that could have been helpful at one point, and also as you share yours with us. So let me just start with what I have. I'll share my screen. All right. And just give me a quiet thumbs up if you can see my screen once it's up. Sorry, I just needed to grant permission to. It looks like I just needed to grant permission to ring Central. So just 1 second.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Just share the screen stuff. Yeah, no worries.
All right, here we go. All right. No. And if you can see me, just give me a thumbs up. If you can see my screen, awesome. So this first one, and some of the things they will definitely seem like common sense, because a lot of times we learn things as we go on, you learn a little bit each time from experience. And so this was my case with this one. I'd find that I'd have a lot of problems sometimes when students are in the breakout rooms, and I needed somewhere to check in with them, and this too has been really helpful. And it's called create, just create a couple of extra breakout rooms. And so we're going to be doing that. And I encourage you as well to try, because this resource will be shared with you later on, of course. But if you want to follow along at some point and just try these out, please, you're welcome to do that, because we learn better that way. So this is at the bottom, you will have your breakout room icon, and you click on that and it'll pop this up. And this has been useful for me in having the one-on-one check-ins, and also just, sometimes a student needs a timeout and you are dealing with something else, and you just need them to put them in a different breakout room so you could sort those issues out. And so that has been super helpful for me in that way. And so when you click, then you will have that will allow you to create your breakout room. And also, please feel free to ask questions if you have any as we share this. But you see that one of the things that it will have you do is you can assign those breakout rooms automatically, or you can assign them manually. That means you put people in the groups that you want, that you've already set up, or indeed you can have participants choose a room. And we'll be looking at that later on as well. So that's just one way. And then another one that has been a great resource for me in my classroom has been the mute all feature. And on Zoom, that can be found on participants, and then you will find the mute all button. And that comes in super handy, especially if you're trying to give maybe instruction where you want everybody to listen, or you're trying to give voice to everybody, to a particular person, and you're having them share. This is another tool that works. I have a second grade class, I know you have high school, so I didn't, but think of how you could implement that in your classroom. But it is absolutely been invaluable for me. And yeah, also there's sometimes, students who have background noise and you just want to shut that out so you can continue undistracted. That helps. But again, I also want you to pay attention to this little button here. Once you click mute all, usually we'll have this little button and we tend to forget. That will help you. That will determine whether your students can unmute themselves or not. And so that is super helpful to just know and click when you want them, when you want to have that control over who is able to speak at the time and who's not. But that's that little box there. Usually it's the default is unchecked, so you want to just check that. So you make sure that you want to uncheck it, sorry. So you make sure that your students are not able to unmute themselves if, say, maybe you have a guest who's sharing or something that you want to really focus on. And then another one that I thought was a good one was screen splitting. And this has been great. Even now I have my screen split so I can at least still see your smiling faces and then have the work on the other side. And this has been, like when you want to see more than multiple things at once, that really helps. And sometimes, you find you're sharing a screen. If you're alone in your classroom, you might find you split your screen so that you're still able to see your students, but also see the work that you're giving them, because those the facial reactions do give you that instant feedback that you need. And then so yeah, you get to see your students while sharing your screen, and then also see multiple things. And I just put some examples on here. And please remember that this resource will be available after this workshop. So here you can see I have my screen where I'm viewing my students. They're highlighted in blue. I'm able to see myself with that. And then on the other side, I have the work that I want to work with or that I'm looking at in sharing with the students. But this you choose. That's the good thing about this. You choose what you want your students to see.
Peter, could you zoom in a little bit on the document so we can see that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for
Perfect. Yeah, no worries. Just a request from chat.
Let me try.
175 maybe. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. 1 second.
And yeah, Naima shared the link to this. This is the tips and tricks document. So there's a version of it in chat right now, and you can copy and paste that out if you want, or we will also be sending out all of these links to everybody to your emails that you use to register. So no worries if you want to just follow along that way.
And then that way. And then the second part is I just put another share this time. This is actually a lesson I had with my students who are looking at close reading. And I was able to use this with them this was the answer sheet that they were using to write on. And I had that highlighted where I'll be showing my work. That's what the students were looking at. And I had my talking points, but I don't want them seeing my answers. I want them to, give me their answers, their authentic answers. And so I was showing them what is in red, and I had the other side with my talking points. And so that was useful in that way as well. And please feel free if you have any questions or anything else that you wanted to add or how you have used it in your classroom. And this other one, this is, just scheduling an assignment. This one is actually for Google Classroom, just scheduling an assignment. I feel like sometimes, you have work that you've prepared or you're trying to figure out what time, so you want to deliver it in a timely manner. And sometimes, you find, well, what time will I be able to post it? And sometimes once you get onto the classroom, you're moving so fast, there's no time to stop and send an email or set up an assignment. And this has been a great tool for me. It's simple, but something really useful and very important. And it's right here. So as you walk through, you will see when you're in Google Classroom, once you've designed your lesson, you have it up there in the corner. Instead of clicking assign, there's a drop-down menu, drop-down arrow that you want to hit. And once that comes down, then you will have the option that is here. you will have that option, and then you can click your schedule. And that way, after you set that, then it will give you the next window, which is that one. And this one gives you now the opportunity to choose your time. And this is useful, you know, if say maybe you want assignments to open at a certain time after you've taught certain content in the classroom, or you want people to check when coming to class, make sure that they have it. So you can always put it up ahead and say, make sure you have this tomorrow. It'll come on at this time. It's good for tests as well, I think, because then you'd have the window that you want them to take that assignment. So yeah, this has been a great little trick to know. And then sharing a portion of your screen. And this again has been one where sometimes you just want to share a specific thing on your screen. You know, it could be a schedule, it could be data. And with a schedule, for example, if I want to share maybe just Monday, or I just want to share maybe Tuesday, and so the students can look at that. That has been a useful tool to have as well, and really zone in. Today, I was using it with my parents for meetings when we were reading the student report, progress report, my comments on it. I just zoom in on that particular part, and the parents were able to have that zoomed out for them and read. And the parents are only seeing what you've selected, and this is how you get to it. So you have your when you click share, you're going into your basic mode, but then you want to make sure that you click on advanced, and that will get you to this point. So once you're on your advanced settings, then you have portion of screen. And once you click that, that will help you. You will see a little square that will be that you can adjust to the size that you want and hover it over the portions that you want to share. And then this one, and we'll be trying it later on with our activity. This one is hiding non-video participants, which has been also useful because usually, you know, like especially in settings, at times you might have people who are not on video, and you want to maximize the people on video that you're able to see, students on video that you're able to see. And this has been one of the tools. And also, as you can see here, these are hyperlinks as well. If you want more time with it later on, you can go on and check out those videos. This one, these are the steps. So if you check on your arrow there, down there, right by the video sign, there's a little up menu, and then you pull up menu, and then you see that you have video settings. And then once you click on video settings, it will take you to the white dialog box, and that one will have hide non-video participants, and then you can just click on that. You could even try it now and see how like instant it works. It's really cool. But most of the time, if everybody you have fits on your screen, it probably won't hide the non-video participants because they're not affecting who you're able to see. I don't know if people have any questions, but at this point, I'd love to hear what people are using in your classrooms, maybe how you've used some of these tools, or what you are using that is, you know, some of your tricks and tips that you have for all of us. And Emily, could you help me capture those?
Yeah, I'll keep writing those down, and as people mention them, we might pull some screen grabs and stuff and add them to the document. So we'll update that link throughout the week as we get more things. So that's great. Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Any questions about any of that or your favorite tips and tricks?
Yeah. And also feel free to type some of them in the chat as well. So.
Or come off mute.
Yeah.
Got a good group here, not too many folks, so I can definitely.
I see somebody in the chat.
Yeah. Do you want to share about your experience using Pear Deck?
Sure, I can. My kids are just gonna be loud soon. So, so I use, so Pear Deck is like an add-on with Google Slides. And my general MO is that I usually have a weekly slide deck. Even when we're in person teaching, I've been doing that for a couple of years now, because it just helps me keep track of what I'm doing. And so Pear Deck, you can add interactive features to slides. So you can do like yes, no questions. You can do like a range of responses. I use it for openers a lot. I use it for checks for understanding a lot. And then it's nice because basically you can do this daily, or I usually try to have my Pear Deck ready for the week and then just do it at the end of the week. It will export to an Excel spreadsheet. And so I can see each student, you can see the responses in real time from students and you can share those. But it also then gives you a spreadsheet where you can look at each student's response and grade them afterward. So like I grade my openers and like responses at the end of the week and give a participation grade for that. And I feel like it's been helpful, and it like ups the interaction a little bit. So yeah, I've been using that. But I've heard that Nearpod, you can alter slides on the fly. The only thing with Pear Deck is like once you launch it, you can't change it. So it's like if I forget, if I'm like, oh, there's a typo, or oh, I wish I had added, it's like, it's done. So anyway, I may make that switch after the winter break.
Cool. Yeah. Todd, you mentioned Nearpod being cool. Do you want to share anything specific about your experience using it?
I'm no expert, of course, not as of yet. Just been using it for a lot of my social emotional lessons and what have you. I do enjoy the fact that you can create your own. You can use something that's already made. You can also, as she mentioned, it's on the fly. In fact, it's almost too much, like in a way, because it's a mix of a lot. It's a mix of Poll Everywhere, which I use a lot. You definitely have your slide deck. They also have sometimes you can pull from things that are already made. So you can pull videos and other stuff. You could pull like animation videos, live action videos. You can put a bunch of stuff in there and just move it around according to your audience. But I won't say the hard part, but you can make plans for a 30 to 40 minute lesson, but depending on what type of bandwidth, because that's a lot of data, your 30 to 40 minutes that you plan, you may get to 6. So what I do like that when you launch it, according to that code that you have your students log in, you can pause the session and pick up where it left off. So I'm just not getting used to it, but I'm also getting used to me shedding the fact that I have my measurements for success, and you got to throw all that out the window. Because again,
Yep.
30 minutes equals 6 right about now.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for sharing. Really appreciate that. Sarah has a good tip for breakout rooms in the chat. When making breakout rooms, setting it so that everybody goes into rooms automatically instead of having them find that click to join button. I feel like especially with students, that click to join button will get like lost behind windows and things like that. And then you have a bunch of kids just hanging out like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. So yeah, agree. Do you want to talk through how to find that setting? Do you remember where it is? Sarah, I can see if I can find a screenshot of it.
Yeah. Hey, hi, Chella and everyone. Let's see, from my memory. So when you're the host in the breakout room setting, so in the new updated Zoom, if you have the most updated one, so you're looking at the square, my memory is at the bottom left, it has that settings button, right? So when you're making the breakout rooms, click that settings button. And then there's a couple of options. There's a couple of options that you could just click on, and one of them is automatically send people to their room. And then also like the countdown timer of like how, yeah, there's that button as well. So I like to do like 30 seconds. Sometimes I find a minute too long, 10 seconds too short. 30 seconds seems like a sweet spot. So,
Nice.
yeah, cool.
Yeah, I have a screen grab of it here. I can share my screen. So it's, you know, you have that little window looking box that looks like that's the breakout room box. And then there's options for it. There's like a little options menu. And here, let me share real quick and you can see this. So some of the options are move all participants into breakout rooms automatically. And that's the one where they don't have to click that join button, but it's not automatically checked. So you want to make sure that, you know, you want to select that probably. And then you can decide whether or not they can come back to the main session if you're going to be hanging out there. But sometimes if you're going to be in a room with students, they're going to just be there by themselves. So you might want to switch that out. So yeah. And then the countdown timer here is that you can do, like you said, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, all that good stuff. Well, my slides are shared really quick. I want to share this resource that's actually what I used to make the main slide deck that we're sharing out today, which is SlidesGo. And so these are free Google or PowerPoint template slides that are already created. They're beautiful. They saved me so much time. I found out about them collaborating with Be the Change Consulting. So they specifically have like education themed ones. Again, there's like so much more stuff than it would, you know, it would take me a whole week to add in any of these icons, even from Canva or anything. And so like this particular deck, and there's hundreds of them, there's usually about 50 different slide templates. And if you want to use it for Google Slides, you click that. If you want to use it for PowerPoint or Keynote, you click that. And they're free to use for personal or commercial use as long as you attribute it back to like, hey, I got these slide templates on SlideGo. And to do that, you just keep this slide, the thanks slide, in your presentation all the time. So amazing, saving me time, making me look good. You know, it's an easy one. I can paste the link in chat too, and we'll add it to the document. I saw someone else had another, oh, Madeline, Go Guardian. Do you want to chat about that at all?
Yeah, so Go Guardian, I have kind of mixed feelings about it just in terms of how creepy I feel because it shows you everything that is on the student's screen as long as they've downloaded the extension and they're using the email that they would be for your class. But it is really nice because you can start sessions with them where they can only open the tabs that you're allowing. And I'm a little bit more flexible about it than I think some other teachers are. I mainly just close it if I see they're chatting with their friends on a Google Hangout during class. But it's really helpful too because I can automatically open up the tab that I want for them. So I'll just say, okay, we're going to this website now. It's open for you already. All you have to do is log in. So I like the Go Guardian features in that way. And I'm still learning about it. So this is a very new teacher to it, but it's been helpful.
Thank you for sharing. I think we have time for about one more tip if anybody's got one or question. I don't know about Slide Carnival, Todd. I'll have to look into that. Anything else that folks are loving or just starting to explore? Yeah, Nearpod. Yeah, we mentioned that a little bit. Did you have any favorite tips or tricks about Nearpod specifically? Yeah, no worries. I know you're joining us from a phone. That's great. Thank you. Thanks so much. Cool. Well, we do have a little spot for a break here planned in, just so we know you have been working all day. So if you want to go grab, we'll do a 5 minutes, refill your water, take a stretch break. We're going to come back and we're going to run some breakout rooms. They'll be pretty small groups, but it'll be an opportunity to kind of maybe meet and chat with some people. And if you can't get off your, off video and sound, that's no problem too. We have capturing your ideas in text documents as well. And then we will share a bunch of tips and tricks. Keep going on that. So how about we'll take until about 4:20, the next about 4 minutes for a quick break. Naeem is going to play us some music. See y'all in a few minutes. Peter, did you notice that most of our folks are not high school teachers? If you look at the sign-in document, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, more elementary than upper.
That's
So.
good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Interesting.
I like the, what was the one Madeline shared?
Yeah.
'Cause I have a student who likes to look at Minecraft.
Oh, sure.
It'll be a good one if I.
Yeah. Yeah, Naima, I could see that person trying to join and click admit like a bunch of times. I don't know.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Figure it out.
I wonder if their connection's not fast enough or something.
I was
'Cause
like,
it seems like they would hang and then get dropped, so I don't know.
it's a box for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool, folks. We'll come on back in a second. I have a link in chat that's where we'll record our notes. We're going to go into some groups in just a second, just a couple of breakout groups. So you'll have a chance to connect with the folks in your room, maybe meet some teachers who you maybe haven't connected with yet that can be part of your network and your resource. And for this session, we're going to do the automatically just randomly assign you into groups. So hopefully you'll make some fun, good connections that way. I did want to mention that on the most recent updates in Zoom, these are the ones that have come out at the end of September, there is the option now to let your participants choose their breakout rooms. We're not going to do that today, but if anybody has questions about that, I can walk you through what that looks like. Essentially, as the host, when you click the breakout room button, there's still the same like automatically choose. This is what we'll do, just randomly assign. Manually, like if we knew like, oh, Peter and Naima can't be in the same group because they're just going to chat this whole time and not do any work, you could put them in separate groups, right? Or you can let participants choose, and then you make your rooms and you can rename them. You could, if you were doing different topics, if you were, you know, maybe it's a little bit more social time and so you wanted to have like art projects here. If you want to talk about, you know, sports, you can go into this room, whatever you want to name the topic, the rooms, and then everybody who has that update and is running that update, when you click open rooms, they will see the menu of those rooms and can select to go into whatever rooms. They'll also see the names of the people in the other rooms. So if I'm like, oh, I want to talk with Peter, I would see that Peter's in that room specifically, and I could jump in and join room 2 or the room where we're talking about soccer because Peter loves soccer, whatever that is. So it's a cool feature. Obviously, I think for a lot of classroom work, it could be very distracting because your students can just jump into any room at any time. And I think it's an awesome thing to explore in terms of giving folks an opportunity to do that little bit more social connection, maybe that we are missing this year, maybe outside of the like, for sure, teaching content, getting a lot of work done stuff. So for this breakout room that we're about to enter in as adults, we are going to use the automatically assign folks to rooms. Naima has set those up. In your rooms, go ahead and introduce yourselves, maybe just really briefly where you're calling in from, what you teach, and where you teach. And then we have a document set up as a Google Drive document. Again, I'll share that link really quick in chat. And the permissions on this are anybody with the link can edit. So you might need to copy and paste this out and jump over there. And we just have, I've set it up, I'll share it really quick so everybody can see. I've set it up kind of to look like Post-it notes. So the different topics are wisdom. What advice or wisdom do you have for teaching in virtual classrooms? Challenges. What challenges do you encounter? Resources. We already shared a few of those, but I'm sure this group has even more. Zoom specific thoughts, Google Classroom specific thoughts. Other virtual platforms, maybe these are tips or tricks. There's a few I know that the San Francisco School District is using that I listed out there. Open topics, maybe these are just general other things related to this work or something that doesn't fit anywhere else that you feel like you need to share out with everyone. And then the last slide is self and community care. What keeps you grounded and connected to your community, school, or otherwise this year? Share some thoughts and ideas there. So you'll be invited to jump around in this slide deck in your room. Maybe your room is like, oh, for sure, we're gonna start with the challenges deck, but it doesn't matter. Other groups might be on there. So just jump over to an open Post-it and add some thoughts and ideas over there. So before we send you to rooms for, we'll probably be in our rooms for around 10 minutes, not super long. So when we're done, we'll all come back and Peter will do a little debrief. So any questions before we jump over into a little bit of small groups? Peter and I will probably jump in and out model, checking in and making sure you have everything you need. And Naima is the host, so if you use that ask for help button, that'll notify Naima. So let us know if you need anything. Yeah, no worries. Good to see you, Sarah. All right, Naima, whenever you're ready with the groups, we can launch them. Naima, how many groups are there total? Like,
Huh?
are there 2 or 3 groups?
Yeah, there's 2 groups. There was
2 groups,
3
yeah.
for freshmen
Yeah,
and
I know. Yeah. I think it's hard to go this long for an afternoon and not run into people having other meetings and stuff, you know. But yeah. Let me check the notes.
the Zoom Central, the breakout rooms, it's so like annoying. It each time I click out of like the time, like I set 10 minutes and if I were to like mute myself or unmute myself, it would just delete and I'd have to do it again.
Oh,
So,
weird. Huh. Yeah. Well, thank you for being flexible. Like we're all learning new stuff every day.
yeah.
Our timing's good so far.
Yeah. This is over at 6.
Yeah. We're right on time in terms of where we thought we'd be, which is good. Do you still have the like broadcast message to all and all those options?
Yeah, I still have that
Cool.
option.
I mean, maybe at
broadcasting?
4:30 we could say 5 more minutes.
Okay.
I'm typing my own tips. Peter, do you use Jamboard at all? You're on mute again, I think.
You know, that's the thing when, because I'm always the one who's not muted in my class.
Yeah.
I have colleagues that love it. I used it for the first time, I think a couple of weeks ago. I liked it. What are your thoughts on it?
I haven't used it a ton. I just know that people like it as like a better than the whiteboard, but you know, not like, which is, you know, but not as complicated as some of the like project planning tools that other people are using.
Right. Yeah.
Naima, are you part of the, if you don't unmute yourself, you have to do push-ups for Be the Change? That's what Ed says.
Oh.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Ed said every time he's like on a public call and is muted, he like takes a tally and then does 10 push-ups or something for every time he is muted. It's like, that's good incentive to pay attention to it.
Right.
This is hard because it doesn't show our names don't stay, and so the little muted sign is only like in the participants window that I've noticed that.
Yeah.
I have to go grab a package off my doorstep. I'll be right back.
No worries.
Like that reminds me. I thought I heard a box thump on my desk, on my door, but it's been raining.
Oh yeah.
Fine. Yeah, and then I got somebody delivered like 3 packages, and I've been searching for who they are. I tried calling the numbers on that, and it's like nothing. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like clearly addressed to my apartment. Oh.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah.
Is it got a 60-second timer to come back?
Let me check. You see, I would have to do so many push-ups.
No worries.
I think it's probably on 60 seconds.
Yeah, I think that's the default. No worries. Yeah, we'll give them about 2 more minutes and then we can hit that button. Had a workshop before this that was based in the same time zone I'm in, but there were people in it from Europe and it was like midnight there.
Oh.
and now I'm talking to all these Californians and I can see like sun through your windows, but it's like dark here. So just doing time travel today.
My package wasn't there, and I'm looking at the tracker pack, but it's like not. It doesn't even work.
Oh no.
So annoying.
Did they send a picture? Sometimes when they deliver packages, they'll send a picture of it. Like, here's where we left it.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that because they've left the picture sometimes at my door. I'm like, no.
I know.
You could have checked if I was home.
Yeah, right. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going anywhere. Knock on the door.
Yeah. and where I am, like there's a park nearby, and you do get, you know, like people that kind of hang out there, and
Yeah.
and few packages have gone missing. So you're just like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got notifications I'm at work, and then you're like, oh no.
Yeah. What do I do now?
Nothing I can do.
Yeah. Cool. You want to bring them back? Push that.
Oh yeah, there's 21 seconds, but you want me
Okay,
to
perfect.
close it?
No, it's fine.
Oh, Todd is coming back.
Yeah. No
Yes.
worries. Perfect. Hey, Todd. Folks are just coming back from breakout rooms the next little bit. I'm gonna wait about 10 more seconds for them to join. As they get pulled out of their breakout rooms.
There's only 5 people here.
They're all in breakout rooms. They're coming back. We're just coming back from breakout rooms. So there should be more folks joining us in just a minute. I feel like there's a little bit of a lag. Let's see. Does it say that they're joining, Naima, or they're
It's closing automatically in 2 seconds.
perfect? Well, hopefully that means everybody's having good conversations. There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome
Hi,
back.
folks. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for jumping back in.
You made it.
Yeah, I know. That's always, you can tell people are having good conversations if they don't join during that 60 seconds. You're like, oh, sorry, you're just going to be dropped back in. So that's good. And we're sorry, but thank you for coming back. We've got more fun things to show you. So yeah, Peter, I don't know if you wanted to go through that document or just lead us in a little debrief
Yeah,
and
thanks.
share. Yeah.
I see some, great stuff in there. Maybe let's start with people who wanted to share the wisdom that you put out. Let's start with breakout room wisdom. Who would like to share out some things? I see somebody wrote, give directions all the ways. It's in multiple ways, and chat, visual, PowerPoint. Who would you like to expand that a little bit? Or who has thoughts about that one? All the ways, give directions all the ways.
That was me. My kids are just a little rambunctious, so I'm moving. But yeah, it's just, it's like being at home is distracting. And I see with my own kids, it's like if the teacher says something while they're zoning out, which unfortunately they do, if it's not repeated, like then they just have no idea what to do for like 10 or 15 minutes. So having observed that, I try to like have it visually. So I'm like, if they ever do independent work, I have the screen shared with the instructions on a PowerPoint. I put it in the chat with when we're gonna come back. I try to have a countdown. I put the instructions in the assignment. But,
Yeah, no, that's amazing. It is. I did realize too, like just piggybacking on that, what I've done with my parents when I say, oh, this is the next assignment that I need you to finish, or this, I'll also send out a list through, we use talking points at my school. So I'll send out a text message, just be like, these are things that kids will be looking at today, and this is where you find them. And I found that to be getting me a little bit of success. And then somebody said, patience is key, seeking out peer support, ask for help, perseverance, start over if necessary. I think that's awesome. And then says, set a mood, have a friendly environment, play music, have lots of light and scenery. Would you like to expand more on this one? Have lots of light and scenery. How do you, any tips on how people can do that? Is sometimes I feel like my room has big windows, so I get lots of light, but then if it's a day that there's no sun, my lighting inside is not that great. And then somebody, yeah. The other one was breakout room. Let's see, there was breakout room wisdom, and then there was the challenges. And we see getting folks to turn on their video or audio. So true. And then well, I'd put forgetting to disable students' screen share. There's times I'm sharing and students are trying to share their stuff as well. And then somebody said doing work for children, communication with staff, and that's and parent involvement. And then what else do we have? Breakout room resources. Somebody mentioned Jamboard. I want to learn Jamboard better. And then there's a link to downdetector.com. What is that one? Who'd like to who threw it in there? Do you want to share what that is?
Yeah, I put it in there.
Oh.
I can share it. I just remembered it. So this is a website that if there are outages or if sites are down, they collect reports from like Twitter and all kinds of places. So if, for example, Zoom is down for a lot of folks, like on those days where like a bunch of your students are like, I couldn't join, I think Zoom is down, you can go to this site and double check and be like, oh yeah, it looks like Zoom is broken for a lot of folks today, or it looks like, you know, Google Classroom is down. And so there's all kinds of different, it's just looking for like any places. So like right now, you know, it will map if YouTube is down for folks or PG&E's website. So I do definitely use it occasionally to check like, oh, is it just my connection or something going on? So it's been a useful resource, even if there's not much to do about it, just to know, like you can, yeah, send out a message to everybody like, hey, it looks like, you know, there's some weird problems with whatever site we're trying to use today. So try it, but if it doesn't work, it's okay.
Yeah. And then we have something on Zoom specific. And somebody said, keeping up with the updates, especially when there are new features. There are new features and can be tricky. That's so true. So like even just updating the computer, I've had my computer one time update on me during a class and I had to wait a few minutes.
Yeah. How are you as teachers with like a set group of students, or how are you just telling students like, hey, there was a Zoom update, can you update your Zoom, or sending messages to parents, or it seems hard to manage?
Yeah. I've actually never sent the updates. I just update my own. Now
right.
I'm realizing, no, that's good reminder, Emily, thanks.
Yeah. There's some things that, yeah, like if yours is updated, that's great. But if theirs isn't updated, then they can't join, you know, like the breakout, select your own breakout rooms is one of those examples. So yeah, it's tricky. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. We'll keep these up. And this is just, you know, it's right now it's got that everybody editing permissions. So if you think of other things as we're going or have other things to add or want to check back on there, it's a good holding place for all of our thoughts. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
We're gonna launch a poll really quick, and this should be set up so that you can vote for multiple things. So kind of trying to mirror in the past, maybe if we were all able to meet in person, it would be amazing, where I would give you 3 stickers and you'd go vote on the 3 things that you want the most. So pretend we're doing that, but you have 3 votes on this poll. So vote for the items that you most want to learn about and explore in the next little bit of time. I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll. Again, you should be able to vote for 3 things. So I'll talk about what those different things are. So just if you want to see some of the in-depth screen share, whiteboard, and annotation features, I can cover that. If you want to know more about sharing music, sound, and video, that's another option, especially how the way that Naima was sharing sound only and different ways to use those kinds of tips and tricks. Or spotlighting speakers, pinning videos, and co-hosting we can talk about if that's useful for you. Polls, reaction, and nonverbal feedback, and maybe the different ways you would use those to increase engagement in your class. Sharing slides as virtual backgrounds, which is a beta feature in Zoom now, or using your phone as a second camera. There's apps you can use where you can use your phone as a document camera or another webcam that are pretty handy. So give folks another minute or so to vote, and we probably have time, since this is a small group, to cover all of these things, but I'm just going to model having a poll set up so you can choose topics, and then I will go in essentially order. If most people want to learn about, you know, polls, reactions, nonverbal feedback, I can jump to that first and then go to the second most requested thing. So yeah, Chella, that is a great point. I have some resources for Chromebook, Zoom on Chromebook stuff that I can share with you. And yeah, it means that a lot of the features for a lot of things, unfortunately, are not all there. Some of these things are definitely ones that you would, hope that everybody could engage with. And some of them are more like you can, like the phone as a second camera, they'll just see that image that's coming out of your phone as the camera, so it doesn't matter what device they're on. So yeah, hope that's helpful. Oh, weird, Todd, if you want to paste what you're interested in the chat, I can add it in there. I don't know why it's not letting you. It's still open. Oh, now it says it's voted. It says everybody's voted, so that's good. I'm going to share the results. Cool. So folks are most interested in polls, reaction, and nonverbal feedback, or sharing slides as virtual background. So I'll cover those first. And really quick, again, the link to the slide deck that we're using, and we'll share this out too. I have a lot of screen captures in there, just like the ones that, similar to what Peter was sharing in the tips and tricks document. So these will be useful probably to help you walk through all of that. And I'm going to stop the share of the poll so we can jump over to the slides, and I'll go in order that you selected. So let me share my screen really quick. And polls, reaction, and nonverbal feedback starts right here on slide 25 if you're following along. So polls in Zoom specifically, or Ring Central, since we're using that today, it's very similar. They are a feature that needs to be turned on in your account. So in your settings, you might need to turn that little toggle so that polls can be used ever. Most of my calls, I don't use polls, but occasionally I do use them like this. And I have it turned on just in case I ever want to use it. You can set up polls in advance of a meeting or during a meeting as the host. You can write a poll like kind of live, but then you also have to, be chatting and, facilitating and also creating the poll. I think they're good for quick, easy engagement. You could do some social emotional learning things. How are you feeling today? Have those options. Identify priorities. What do you most want to learn about? What was your favorite whatever? It is a somewhat limited tool in that if you see on this slide right here, it's really only you type a question. They can answer as single choice answers, which would only let you select one thing, or multiple choice, just like we did where you could select a few things. And it lets you have up to 10 answers for that. So, what book do you want me to read next? You could put up to 10 book titles in this list, but beyond that, it doesn't really let you do, it wouldn't let you easily do Likert scale type questions. You can say like, how much did you enjoy that book? If you wanted to do that, you'd have to say 1, not at all, 2, a little bit, 3, somewhat, 4, a lot, 5, it was the best book I've ever read. And those would be like the questions. So it's not a super great, there's obviously folks have already mentioned some favorite polls and question and, you know, quiz apps and things like that that you might want to use, or just more formal ways to do, you know, evaluation and feedback forms. But I think for in session, it's fun and some quick and easy engagement, which is nice. And then related to that, I think somewhat related, you can use the nonverbal feedback or reaction features. So reactions, we don't have turned on this call, but if you have them turned on, again, it's a settings that you need to turn on or off. And when you click on the little icon that looks like a smiley face, you will have the option of displaying hand clap, thumbs up, heart, smiling, laughing face, or the wow face, or the little like burst of confetti. And those will just display in the corner of your screen for 10 seconds. So they do disappear. So you can, I think one of the nice ways that I like to use this with students is to say, just like very quickly, like, you know, if you want to do a multiplication problem next, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to do a division problem next, give me a heart. And just do like a really quick capture of what folks think, right? Just like give them 2 choices, define what those 2 things are, give them that choice. But that's going to disappear after 10 seconds after they've pushed that button. So another option would be to use the nonverbal feedback, which we do have turn on in this account. So I'm going to stop my screen share so we can see that a little bit better. If you go to the participants window again, and when I look at Zoom, I always like to have the participants window open because I can see who's muted. If I have co-hosts, they appear at the top of the list. I can see if people are not muted and there's noise in the background, their little mics will go green or they'll animate a little bit. So underneath that, because the nonverbal feedback is turned on this Ring Central call, we can have these, you can say, put the little yes, or the little no, or the go slower, go faster, or the more, where you can have a coffee cup, and all of those little icons next to your name. So go ahead and if you want to play with those. And these don't disappear. So that's another, you could say, you know, if you want to do, like in my example, if you want to do multiplication or division, you could assign those. Say if you want to do multiplication next, we could say go slower. If you want to do division next, you could say go faster, and people could select those. It'll tell me as a host or co-host how many people have selected each of those things, which is nice. And as a co-host or host, we don't have, so in this case, Peter, Naima, and Ashley and I don't have the raise hand button, but everybody else does. And the nice thing about that raise hand button is it will appear for us in the screen next to your photo or your square. And it will also, when you select that, it'll jump your name to the top of the list. So if there were 30 people on this call or 25 students or however many kids you have joining, using that raise hand specifically in the nonverbal feedback is useful because those people that do raise their hands will jump to the top of your list. And as a teacher, as a co-host or host, you can lower people's hand, which is, I feel like, something that we all wanted to do before when we were in person, but it wouldn't be very polite, but now you can do it virtually to lower a hand. Yes, I know you have a question. You always have questions. So that's just in their little image box or next to the name when they have a hand up, you can lower the hand. Any interesting ways you've been using those questions about any of those polls, reactions, or nonverbal feedbacks? Go ahead and you can come off mute or type it in chat. Cool. Let me know if you have them. It's totally fine. Paste it whenever. The next things people about next. Oh, is there a way to see individual answers in polls or just the group? That's a great question. So when you set up your poll, you have the option of making it anonymous or not anonymous. Almost all of my polls I make not anonymous, but I, as the host or person who launched the poll, don't see immediately, like in this instance, I didn't see what Laura voted for. But somewhere in this account, so if I launch a poll from my account, if I go into meeting reports, there are poll records. And if I pull those up, like if I pull the poll record from this meeting, if this was on my own account, I would see a list. It would be a spreadsheet, and it would have everybody's name they joined the call with and the email address if they were logged into Zoom and what they voted for. So it's not immediate, like it's not something I would do right away, probably in class. But if I did say, like, you know, we're gonna pick groups for next week, and you're gonna each pick a different book to work on, which book would you like to select? Then I would have that record, and I could go pull that up, you know, after class that day and figure out, oh, Naima wanted to read this book and Peter wanted to read this other book, and just use that, as long as it's not an anonymous poll. So that's a great question. And then, yeah, Madeline's saying, I use polls a lot as an easy check for understanding and attention check, like for math. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I like to, yeah, I think it just adds a little bit of engagement, because not everybody has to turn on their video or come off mute, but it's like, hey, here's a poll. And as the host, you can see, the person who launched the poll can see how many people voted. So it will say like 15 out of 20 people have voted. So you can, you know, sit there and be like, there's 5 of you who aren't voted yet. Go ahead and do it, you know. Make sure that happens if it matters. Cool. I appreciate all your sharing and your questions. Thanks, everybody. The next request was sharing slides as virtual backgrounds. So I'll talk about this a little bit, and then I'll show you what it looks like. I'm not going to launch slides as virtual backgrounds in this call, but I'm going to show you screen grabs of what it looks like. So this is a feature that's in beta, and it's a screen sharing option. So when you click on screen share, if you're, you know, on the call and you have screen sharing turned on and your host can screen share, you would click on screen share, and then you'd go over to that advanced tab, just like Peter mentioned before, for the sharing a portion of your screen. And there should be a big block that says share slides as virtual backgrounds, and it will probably say it's in beta. And you click on that, and then you have to, for share slides as virtual backgrounds, it has to be a PPTX file. So that would be PowerPoint or Keynote. I make most of my slides in Google Slides, but when I have ones that I want to share as virtual backgrounds, I just export them from Google and save them as a PPTX file, and then use that for share slides as virtual backgrounds. The nice thing about share slides as virtual backgrounds is that it'll make your video still appear with your slides as the background. And it doesn't require, so right now, if I turn on just regular virtual backgrounds like the Golden Gate Bridge or the beach, my background is way too dark and light and different colors, and my computer's not fast enough to run virtual backgrounds very well. So it looks a mess, but it does actually work for share slides as virtual background. So I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna open up what this looks like in Zoom to show you what share slides as virtual backgrounds does, and talk about why I think it could be very useful for your students. So this is just from the kind of help center. So sharing your presentation as a background, again, this is that share screen, click advanced, go to share slides as virtual background, and then it will prompt you to open up your whatever slides you want to share. That needs to be a PPTX file, and say, yeah, sure, that's the one, open. Then it will open your slide deck. So in this case, this is someone presenting about farm and safety for animals. And you can see that the presenter's video is there in the corner. So as the presenter, when you're doing slides as virtual background, your students will be able to see you essentially in your slides, and you can say, everybody should be seeing me in the bottom slides with the chickens above me. And you can continue to, you can still scroll through your slides just like regular. You can resize your video and reposition where you are in your slide deck. I will say that when I make slides that I know I want to use as virtual backgrounds like that, I make sure to not have any text content or things I want people to be able to follow along, like in the bottom right-hand corner of my slide. So I just need to make sure that the layout accommodates the idea that like my video is going to be in there with the slides. So that might require a little bit of planning, but it is really handy. And again, you can move yourself around. Your video can be in different places. So if you're like, oh, sorry, there's, you know, I'll just scoot my video over to the side. And then you can split your video from the slides, which would just make it like a regular slide deck sharing if you wanted to pull that back. And merge video back with the slides would bring your video back in there. So I think especially if you have students who are a little bit, find it hard to be like, wait, what am I supposed to be paying attention to? There's the teacher's video and the slides are being shared, and it's a little bit, you're getting a little bit lost. It's nice to be able to be in your slides essentially, so that they can actually see you as you're sharing that slide content. So I think that's super handy. There's also, if you have a Mac, there's a third-party application called which is not very easy to say on the internet. I'll paste the link here. Right now it's only for Macs, but it does essentially the same thing. Lets you be like video in slide for any type of video stuff. So that should work in Google Classroom and other things. So that might be a resource worth checking out for sure. Any questions about those features? Any thoughts? Has anybody used that, sharing slides as virtual backgrounds, or before?
I like the what you just shared in regards to using Google Slides as a background so I can share my slides while simultaneously being present. I think that'll help out a lot when I'm playing like virtual games or going through the structure of how to draw or doodling. And it'll make it more interactive with my students. So I'm definitely going to try it out, but first practice with myself and then implement it in my class. So I'm excited.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, definitely practicing it is a good idea. It's a little bit weird, but it actually works pretty well. I've been really impressed. I do have a green screen that I can pull out, but it's like this big whole thing and it scares my dogs. So I usually don't use it, but I have found that I don't really need it to do the share slides as virtual backgrounds. I mostly just need it if I want to like put up pictures as virtual backgrounds and be in this space where it's like dark bookshelf, light curtains. So hopefully that'll be the same for everybody else. Any other thoughts about that? Questions? Cool. We'll move on to the next features. Folks were requesting more information about sharing music, sound, and video, and I'll go to that since it's another screen share sort of thing most of the time. So in that screen share button, essentially at the bottom, the icon at the bottom of the screen, there is, when you click on that, again, as Peter mentioned, it opens usually in the basic view. And for me, when I click on it, the options I have for basic screen sharing are share my whole desktop, share my whiteboard, share my iPhone, share my, right now I have an internet browser open. I'm using Firefox, but it could be Chrome or Internet Explorer, whatever. So share Firefox or share any of the applications, right, that I have open. That's sort of the basic screen sharing option stuff. Mostly all of those would you would see what I'm sharing. And then if you go to advanced, which is where you would find that share portion of the screen that Peter covered earlier, or the share slides as virtual backgrounds, you can click on that, and then there's the option from there to share computer sound only. So that is what I'm currently doing right now, and it's what Naima was doing in our break and in our intro. So it doesn't look like really I'm sharing a screen, except for if you notice at the top of the screen, there's probably a little light green bar that shares Emily is sharing computer screen, something like, or sound is probably what it says. And that means that if my computer makes any noise, you all will hear it. So right now, I'm not playing any music, but if I was, you would hear it. And similarly, if I have my computer set to every time I get an email, it plays a tone, you would hear that too. So you might want to turn off other ancillary sounds that your system is set to make if you're going to do a lot of sound sharing. But right now, if I do play music, and I use Spotify because I have a Spotify account, but you could easily use YouTube to play music. You could use iTunes. You could use Pandora. It really doesn't matter. Anything that plays music, you could have, your music files with your favorite music player, if you have music files, and then I will play a song. This is my pandemic jam. So y'all are hearing music, and I can talk over it pretty easily. I do think I tend to find that it feels pretty low volume to me, but louder to the audience. So testing that with somebody is probably good. And once you have that kind of dialed in where you know where the volume levels are, then you can just set it. Like if you're, like I use Spotify and I just kind of know on the volume bar where to set the music volume that isn't terrible. The other thing I use music for a bunch is I have playlists, and I can share these links with everybody in those resources documents that we'll share out, that are 2-minute songs, 3-minute songs, 4-minute songs, and 5-minute songs. And then I have playlists that are instrumental, 2-minute instrumentals, 3-minute instrumentals, 4-minute instrumentals, 5-minute instrumentals. So if I had an activity where it's like, okay, we're gonna do a little bit of journaling for 5 minutes, here's the prompt, I'll put on a 5-minute song that doesn't have any words in it, an instrumental song. So there's just background music, but that like, it's not dead quiet, kids feel like we're still connected on the call. You can still hear some things. And those I've just, made using you can see how long songs are on Spotify. And I've just been like, oh, that's 3 minutes and 10 seconds. That'll go in the 3-minute file. So, I made playlists like that. Any questions or comments, resources related to that?
I have a question. Yeah. So when you're playing your music, are you having it on a shared, like a screen so they can hear it, or is that through a speaker?
So it's literally just, I'm playing it from my computer.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's technically a screen sharing feature on RingCentral, which we're on right now, or Zoom, but you're not seeing my Spotify.
Right.
So I'm just playing it like I would if I was just listening to music on my computer. I'm not playing it on a different speaker or my phone or anything.
Right. It's like on a separate tab. Or
yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
I've had that problem.
Yeah.
With mine.
Yeah. I think using the sharing computer sound only makes the audio quality a lot better than, I'm sometimes on calls where people will be like, I'm going to play it on my phone and then hold it up to my microphone on my computer. And then it just sounds like, you're listening to a tiny tin speaker in a bathtub or something. So using the sharing computer sound makes it a lot easier. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Questions, comments, thoughts? Other ways you're using music? Cool. And then for video, similarly, you can, share a screen that's playing a video, and that's actually back in the basic tab. You just want to make sure that you're clicking share computer sound, which is at the bottom of the menu. And I'll pull up a screen share in just a second so you can see where that is. That you're also selecting optimize for video so that your video quality will be a little bit better. So let me pull up a video really quick. so we can watch something together. And also remember, if you're pulling something off of YouTube, it's likely that there's going to be a ad before it and all those kinds of things. So sometimes I like to have those already set up, especially if I'm going to be working with students. So let's see. I didn't do it today. Sorry. But I know which video I want to share. Cool. So really quick, I'll share my Firefox screen again. Skip this ad. I'm gonna make sure my volume's not super loud for y'all. And the volume might be different on your different players. So really quick for where to go for this, when I clicked on share screen, I just made sure that this share computer sound, am I sharing right now? Was I sharing my whole desktop? That was way too much stuff. Here we go. Here we go. When I was clicking on share computer sound, you were seeing that share computer sound and optimize for full screen video is clicked. For the share music only, I was going over to the advanced tab and making sure that the computer sound, music or computer sound only button is what's selected. So once I have that, I've enabled that. That's how it's set right now. Now we should be able to visit our pal Al Green.
Let me just say that I'm so tired of being alone. I'm so tired of going my own. Won't you help me, girl? Just
so that is video sharing where you also have the audio. And I know for folks who are like teaching music lessons and things like that, it's, you know, even though those are like the optimal ways to share, everybody's receiving the audio at different times based on their internet speed. So if you've ever had kids trying to like sing along together to something, it's a huge mess. I'm sure, you know, even if we have adults do it. So just keep that in mind. Like, you're hearing it probably the fastest because it's being shared from your computer. And then as it goes out to everybody else and they receive it, they're hearing that lag, and then they're sharing out when they get it. So all of the internet speed stuff is going to make that a pretty big mess. But I do find that, like, you know, when we're playing music to let people in and we're dancing and grooving, it's like, yeah, we're relatively on time. But if we tried to sing all together, we would be way off. So yeah. Any thoughts, questions, comments, favorite tips for sharing music, sound, and video? Cool. Let's see where we're at. We have a pretty small group. Maybe we want to just, do you want to lead into dance break, Peter, right now? And then we'll keep on plugging away at some of these tips and tricks.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Great.
And I was just going to say too, like for me with music, with my class has been when we're doing art or doing things that need sustained focus from them without interacting with me really, that has been great, having that music in the background, but still able to talk to them. Yeah. All right, so if you can, where you are, just find some space just around you. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a dance together. And then hopefully you have some space that you can move around. So for example, one, like, I'll ask if you can please give us a move, right? Just one move. And for example, I might give you the dab as one, right? So, and then we're going to combine those moves and see if we can all dance using those moves to see what our final picture will be of that. But if you're ready and you think you have a move that you'd like to share, we're going to pick that, and then everybody gets to, well, it's a small group, but if we can have even 5, then that, and then we can combine them and then see how we do our dance together. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody would like to start. Come here.
Okay, so just do a dance move.
Do a dance, yeah, just one, and then everybody else is watching it, and maybe repeat it. Maybe we can stand where we are, so you can just you're able.
No music. No music.
The music will come at.
We'll have music. Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go.
I don't know if y'all can see if y'all can see me. So okay.
Nice.
All right. So that's one, and then anybody else like to give us another move? That would be
Our second move.
Number one we have. So and then who likes to give us a second? Gabby, you want to try? All right, and Madeline, you're on video. Do you have one?
Kind of similar to Gabby's.
Like it.
All right, and then Naima, do you want to throw in one?
No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy.
Shoulders. Love it.
All right, so now then, let's just go through the ones we have. Right, and then what was our next one? Yeah. And then we had all right, so now start from the top and start encouraging. We have some ideas of sustain. All right, here we go.
Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
Awesome.
But yeah, the kids love it. And what I usually do with that too, I send them into their breakout rooms. Maybe there's 4 of them or 5, they come up with a group. And then when we come back to the whole group, they get to share what they did in their breakout room and get to show off their dance. And that we usually do with, I think you're going to be talking about this, Emily. Well, we did talk about it earlier, having only video, non-video participants out, or asking the other kids to go off video. So you're only highlighting the performers.
So the 5 students who
5 students, yeah.
invented the dance or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's who's focused. Yeah, cool. That's very cool. Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you,
Got a couple
everybody.
more. Yeah, thanks for moving with us. That felt really good. Couple more features to talk about. The next one's great. I'm gonna kind of fake it on our Ring Central call, but hopefully y'all will be able to play around with this and use it effectively. I think it'll make perfect sense and you'll get all those resources again and you can follow along. So this is using your phone as a second camera or document camera. And it's actually using third-party applications. I have 2 recommendations for this. So there's a free option called Irion, which I'll paste in the chat. And this is a free application and a piece of software that runs on your computer. And there's one called Epoch Cam by, let me paste the link here for that one, Epoch Cam. And that also is an app for your phone. So I have an iPhone, but it also works for Android, and a piece of software for your computer. So basically what is going to occur is that your computer is going to think that you have another camera option. So you probably noticed my video quality is not as good because I just switched over to my camera that's in my computer right now. I also have a webcam and I also have a phone. So if I was to use Irion to show you what that looks like, since that's the free one, Epoch Cam is an $8 app. There are some better features like that you can only use with Epoch Cam that Irion doesn't have, but I would say definitely, since Irion's free, play with that, see if you like it, and then, you know, if you want to spend the $8 for Epoch Cam, it's definitely cheaper than buying an extra webcam or an actual document cam, and probably lets you, you know, even if you have a document cam or a webcam, this is like an extra option. You could use this to look at different things. I do a lot of classes that are like craft classes, so I can set up my phone so that it's like looking at my sewing machine as it sews, different things like that. Maybe you know, and then you don't have to worry about moving cameras all the time. So they are pretty handy. And the main way you access them, I'll share my screen to show you what this looks like since it's not particularly easy to see, is next to the video, stop or start video, there's that little up arrow that opens up your menus to select different cameras. So once you install Irion or Epoch Cam, I have both of them, then that would be an option. I can select, normally I use my webcam, right now I'm using my built-in camera, and then I would just select, oh, I want to use Irion for this. So I'd select over to that, and that's what would show as my video, whatever's coming out of that camera. So I have to open up the application and then select that camera. So I'd open up Irion on my phone, just like you open up any phone app, and then I would open up that camera and select it. We'll talk about mirror your video or turn on or off mirror your video in just a second, but it's just from those, just that little up arrow here next to your video. This is also, if you use the up arrow next to the mute, that lets you select different microphones. So like right now I'm using a headset, but I could use the microphone in my computer, and that's how you select between those different things. So I'm gonna stop the share and I'm gonna select a different camera, so you're gonna see a different angle, and it's probably gonna be stuff on my desk. So I'm gonna go next to my video, click that little up arrow, select the different camera. It's gonna go there. There's my keyboard. There's my stomach. There's like a little notepad here. I could scribble some stuff. You would see that. So this is, you know, you can use your phone camera to point down at your desk. You could also use your phone camera to point just at a different angle of your face. If that was useful, you could point down to, you know, you could be looking up close at some objects for science lessons. You could be looking at, you know, here's what we're gonna, here's, you know, I do have a glue stick, you know, here's, I'm gonna show you how to do this activity we're gonna do. So again, probably without having to buy different extra hardware, this is a way to select, to set up a different camera. So I think it's definitely adds a lot of flexibility to your ability to do teaching. One of the nice things that Epoch Cam has that Irion doesn't have is it has a pinch zoom. So if you were looking down at something, like if I had a feather that I wanted to, like everybody to look at for a science lesson, and I wanted to look at it a little bit closer up, with Epoch Cam, I can pinch zoom and the view would pinch in closer and you'd see that better up close, whereas Irion doesn't have the pinch zoom feature. So that is definitely a reason to maybe spend that $8 or ask somebody to spend the $8 on you. Let me think, what else? Zoom by default, and it looks like also Ring Central, mirrors your video. So if you're looking at yourself right now, you're seeing yourself in mirrored view. That also means when I hold things up in the camera that have words on them, that you will see that the correct way, but I see it mirrored, right? So if I write, let me grab a Sharpie really quick and, you know, write something on a piece of paper. Oof, my Sharpie's out of ink. So when I hold this up, it looks backwards to me, but it looks forwards to you. That's fine if you know how to, read backwards, which is definitely a teacher skill for some folks. But you can turn that off in your video settings. So again, in that little up arrow next to your video, there's a thing that opens video settings. That's where you'd go to hide non-video participants. You can also turn off mirror my video. So it's by default it's selected, and you can uncheck that, and then your video will not be mirrored. And then you can also learn a thing which is just an interesting, like straight up out of the Exploratorium. We are used to seeing ourselves mirrored. So when you unmirror your video, it appears very different and weird. Like it'll be very uncomfortable to see yourself not mirrored usually, which is just a weird human psychology thing, especially now. Like all I do is Zoom calls, many hours a week. So I'm very used to looking at myself in mirrored view. And when I look at myself non-mirrored, I'm like, who is that person and what is she doing on my chair? So that's kind of a fun, weird science reality that you can explore. So it might be useful, especially if you're using your Irion or Epoch Cam or web, your camera as a document camera, and to do text, I think it's way easier to turn off the mirrored video, because then you can see what you're writing and it's not switched for you. It switches back for everybody else, but that's definitely something to consider. Another quick thing to note about those webcams, phones as webcams, is that by default, they connect over Wi-Fi, which means that right now, I'm at home, Peter's at home, we're on different Wi-Fis. I could open my Irion Cam and connect to it, and Peter could open his Irion Cam and connect to it, and it wouldn't cross. Also, we're in different states, so there's zero chance we're on the same Wi-Fi. But but even if we were, like just at, different parts of Oakland on our own Wi-Fis, this wouldn't be an issue. If Peter and I went into our classrooms safely, distance, and we're both on the same school Wi-Fi, if I open Irion on my phone and Peter happens to have it, and I connect to my phone, it might connect to Peter's phone, which is probably okay, because Peter's probably showing a school appropriate thing on his phone, and I'll just be like, oh, whoops, let me disconnect, reconnect. Epoch Cam lets you connect over USB, so that would be a way that like only the camera that's plugged into my phone can connect to Epoch Cam. I think the worst case scenario is, you have teenage students or something, and they realize, oh, you're using Irion Cam, and I'm going to connect to your camera, and then you're broadcasting whatever the students are looking at on their phone, with their phone camera, their gross backpack or whatever. So Epoch Cam lets you opt to have it be from that USB cable, so you might prefer to play around with that one, although right now it's probably pretty safe since we're all distanced to just use over Wi-Fi. Any questions about any of that? I know we're rounding into 5:30, but any questions about using your phone as a webcam or a document cam? I think it's pretty handy. You might want to set up, I was just holding it, so it's a little bit wobbly. You might want to set up like a little tripod, or even just like a box that you establish, like that's the right distance for my phone. It's not going to be, moving around a whole bunch, making everybody seasick when they're joining. But it gives you a lot of different flexibility, I think, which is nice.
And Emily,
yeah.
You had mentioned one advantage of, say, using my phone. What if I log in my phone and use it as my camera like that versus using Irion or Epoch? And what's
Yeah, so that's totally another, right? You can join this call, you could join from another device, right? And so that's like Peter just mentioned, that's a way you can do it too, is you can just switch between your phone and your video. I think one of the nice things with Irion, but it's or Epoch Cam, but it's also a limitation too, right? Is that it's always just your video. Like it's still going to be, it's not a second video. It's just like if you are really like, let's all look at what I'm writing, and you don't worry about, you know, you can still see the students in gallery view, but your video will just be the writing because it's coming from that one account. It also means you don't have to worry about the sound being any different. You know, when you join from your phone, you have to be careful that you're not joining the phone audio, or else you get that echo, 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 echo forever. So when you're just switching from different cameras, the audio is still staying in the same channel. And I think there's definitely reasons, kind of like the share slides as virtual background, where you might want to be like, look over there at the one I'm sharing at my phone where I'm pointing at the plant we're supposed to be dissecting, you know. So I think both of those are handy ways to do that, for sure. Yeah. Good point. Other questions, thoughts, ways you've been using that? Cool. People also had a few questions about screen share, whiteboard, and annotation. Again, this is another shared screen feature. So if I click on shared screen, I can share a whiteboard. And this is because whiteboard is turned on this account. You should be able to, at the top of this screen, let's see if it's turned on this account, go to view options and annotate. Do y'all see that? Anybody else have view options annotate? So far it's just me being scribbly. Somebody else is able to. Perfect. Cool. So yeah, so view options annotate opens up that very simple annotation tool set, right? Text, draw, stamp. Format lets you change color or make your fonts or your line sizes different, bigger, smaller. I have undo and redo. I can clear everybody's drawings. I can, as a host, I can erase everything or just one thing at a time. As a participant, I think you can only erase what you drew, which is handy. You can, it doesn't look like it's turned on this account, which is totally fine because we'll just be scribbly. You can turn on to see who is drawing. So it would tell me like, Peter is drawing this pink squiggle. But I don't get a heads up that, hey, Peter wants to draw this pink squiggle, is that okay? It just suddenly appears, right? So similarly, if one of your students wants to just start typing bad words, but they probably wouldn't just write bad words, that would just appear for everybody on their screen. And if annotation is turned on your account, and if it's set to anybody can annotate, they can also annotate on top of other shared screens. So if I was sharing my slides like I was a minute ago, you could probably go to view options, annotate, and then just scribble over the screens, which is, you've been teaching for a while with annotation turned on. Your students have almost certainly figured out that, and you've seen, and you've been like, oh God, no, what happened? So you can set it so that only the person who's sharing the screen can annotate, which is kind of handy because often the only person who's sharing the screen is the teacher. So then you might be like, you know, it might be useful for some times, different settings, that you do have the option to be like, you know, if you look over here on the slide deck and you circle something, make it more obvious for them, but then they wouldn't all be able to write over it. So I think it's a useful tool when you want to, you know, you can play different games like this. I was playing Pictionary with a group the other day, where there's a great Pictionary word generator. I'll share the link to that. There's like easy, medium, hard, and extra hard words. And so we just opened up a whiteboard and we drew our pictures for Pictionary on the whiteboard, but also, you know, it is kind of like open up and trust that people only draw appropriate things. So I'm going to stop the whiteboard share really quick and connect with folks. Yeah.
From Chella, and it's saying, can you save annotated screen, or do you have to screenshot it?
Yeah, that's a great question. My account is set to save all of my chats and all of my whiteboards automatically. That's a setting that you can find in the settings when you log in. Like you go to zoom.us, you log in and you go to settings and you can set that automatically save. So it just automatically saves. Almost all my whiteboards look like about like the one we just did, where they're not super important, but occasionally I have been playing some games where it matters, like we're like developing a map together and we use the whiteboard, and so it's like it is cool and I want to be able to save it. Or there are times I could see where you diagram out the life cycle of a plant and you have it all together and you really want to be able to save that. So yeah, I err on the side of, if anybody wrote anything important in chat and I want to save it, I just have those set to automatically save. So, and same thing as the whiteboards. So that's what I do. I also sometimes will screen capture it just in the middle of the process too, if I'm like, oh, that's really interesting and I want to capture it before it changes, because it'll only save the final version, whatever it was when I just closed it is what it'll save, right? That's a good question. If we relaunch whiteboards now, it'll still have that stuff that we just drew on too. So unless we clear it, right? So it's still up there. Like if there was some reason we're like, okay, well now we're gonna take a break and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna keep, if we unshared it and then reshared it, it should still have your stuff up. But yeah, that's a great question. Anybody else using whiteboards and annotation in interesting ways? Or questions about it?
I have a question about it. Can you copy and paste, different things to the whiteboard? Do you know if you can?
Not
'Cause I
easily.
No.
But you can, let me double check. Let me open this up real quick. I'm trying to find, I have way too many icons on my desktop because I'm one of those people. Here we go. Okay, this is very North American centric of me. So apologies if anybody is joining us outside of North or Central America, but you can use, so right now I have a map that's an image that I pulled off the internet and I saved it on my desktop. I just opened it. So now I'm gonna go to share screen and I'm gonna share, not a whiteboard, but I'm gonna share this map that in my case is open in preview because I'm using a Mac. But now you should be able to do view options, annotate, just like you did before. And if the prompt was like, drop a little heart or star wherever you're calling in from, folks can annotate on top of this. We can also, scribble on top of things. I want to make a new island off the coast of Canada. So you should still be able to access, yeah, it looks like some folks are, you should be able to access those annotation tools for any image, and just as long as you have the image open and then screen share that and then have annotation open, you can draw on top of that. So I don't know if that's a trick to what you're saying. I totally get that what you want, like to copy and paste like a little image into it. That would be really nice. I haven't played around with it a whole lot, but I know some folks who are really into Google's Jamboard as a more heavily featured whiteboard, but it's still sort of usable for students. There's also Miro and Mural. Those are pretty sophisticated tools, and I know they've used it a little bit, Naima, with some of the Be the Change things. One of the things I've noticed about those tools is they can be kind of laggy and like bandwidth intensive with Miro and Mural specifically. So you might play around with that a bit. I feel like it's always this like balance between like, it does more cool things, more features, and like, not everybody can access it very smoothly. So the nice thing about the whiteboard is it's like built in, it's just there, but it also is very rudimentary as you saw. So yeah, those are great questions. Anything else? Other questions around any of that? Cool. I did it a little bit in the when we were doing our mindfulness at the very beginning, but spotlighting video. Now you can spotlight, if you have the latest install, you can spotlight up to 9 people on a call. So that can be useful if you have multiple people presenting or a group. You know, if it's okay, you all read that book and you're going to do a group report, you can spotlight those 4 people. No worries. Thank you for being here, Chella. And so the host or the co-host, next to anybody's names, you can pull down the little ... menu and spotlight someone's video. So I can spotlight myself. I can spotlight Peter. I can cancel the spotlight videos. You can add spotlights up to 9 people now on the latest Zoom updates. Pin video is just for the participant. So if I just wanted to look at Naima's beautiful cat and Naima's beautiful cat was on this call, I could pin Naima's video and she wouldn't know that I was looking at her and her cat, and you wouldn't see that I was only looking at Naima. That could be this whole training time. So pin is not like a public facing feature. It's just like if you know, a less creepy way this is effectively used is if we had an ASL interpreter on the call and there was someone who was, you know, better processing ASL, they could pin the video of the ASL interpreter and see that video and get all of the interpretation through it. But Spotlight is what that'll force everybody on the call to see those videos as they were in speaker view, or like 4 people if that's who we cared about most. So I think that's a feature that's a little bit underutilized, especially now that you can pin multiple people. It's nice, you know, you could have those group reports, or you could do that for the dance party. You could pin those videos and everybody else's little video would still be there. So playing around with that is fun. I'd recommend it. I know we're rolling into our refresh review time. Yeah, you want to take it over and share some Jeopardy with us, Peter?
All right, yeah. People are ready, and rest in peace, Alex Trebek. Let's see, let me just share my screen. I keep clicking on the Zoom share. All right, here we go. All right. Ta-da. All right, so who would like to start us off? We have breakout rooms, we have phone as a document camera, we have mute, participation engagement, and jokes. Well, I'll go for Kinnear again first. Do you want to pick one category or question?
Let's break out. No, phone as a document.
Phone as a document for how much?
200.
200. All right. There we go. And these applications let you use your phone as a document camera. So if you know, you feel free to jump in. These applications let you use your phone as a document camera.
Was it EpoCam? And
Yeah.
what is it? I don't know how to say the word. Arian.
Arian. Ding, 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 ding. Yes. And continue. Naima.
And I have mute for 200.
Mute for 200. All right. People with these permissions can mute and unmute participants.
Host or co-host?
Yes. Ding. And who else is here? Oh yeah. Oh, now I can see. Do you wanna go? I'm blanking out on your name right now and it's not showing me.
Is it Gabby?
Gabby, yes. Yes, go ahead, Gabby.
Participation engagement for 200.
All right. Turn these on in your settings to let participants use the raise hand button.
The reaction option.
Uh-huh. Oh,
Yeah.
verbal feedback, yes. All right. And do we still have time for one more, Emily?
Yeah, totally.
All right.
I think, is it
Go
Laura?
microphone. Yeah,
All right, I'll do jokes for 200.
jokes for 200. All right. Denim. What kind of dogs love summer?
Hot dogs?
Yay, hot dog.
Got it.
Yeah, do we have anybody else still?
I think that's everybody that doesn't know all the answers.
All right, so it loops back to Kinea then.
Okay, let's do breakout rooms for 200.
Breakout rooms for 200. Inside the breakout room, chat to everyone reaches these people.
Did I write it down? Uh-oh.
I don't even know if I specifically said that, so extra bonus. Probably be worth more than $200.
Is it check? It's not check the auto for breakout. No, it's not that one.
If you're in a breakout room and it says like chat to everybody who receives that message.
Oh, everyone in the chat and the breakout room, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just everybody in your breakout room. Like the other breakout room doesn't see it.
No,
Yeah,
just the
exactly.
people in your chat.
Yeah, got it. Perfect.
Yay.
Thank you. We had to break it down a little bit.
It's all good.
Was it one of the questions, Emily, that we kind of talked about clarifying? Was that the one? Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you go to break, a lot of times when people get sent to breakout rooms, they ask like, wait, if I chat to everybody, who sees that? Because they don't want to accidentally, like type something random and somebody's like, wait, what are you talking about? I don't know. I wasn't in that conversation. So yeah,
Right.
It's only the people who
Yeah.
are in that room.
And Naeem, I think it's you now, is it?
Okay, can I do mute for 400?
Mute for 400. Oh, going for the big guns, yeah. Oh, oops, no, not that one. Mute for 400. There we go. To select a different microphone or speaker, click this.
The little arrow next to your button.
Ding, 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 ding. And Gabby.
Let's see. Breakout rooms for 300.
Breakout rooms for 300. All right. The host can send a message to everyone in all rooms using this feature. The host can send a message to everyone in all rooms using this feature.
I'm blanking out. I'm going to need help.
Anybody who would like to jump in on that?
We also didn't say this out loud. Naima did it, I think, but we didn't say it out loud. It's broadcast message to all.
Yeah.
And the host can, if there's like 4 breakout rooms and it's like, we can just send a message that's like 5 more minutes or make sure you're moving on to the reading portion or whatever. Yeah, so broadcast is the right answer.
And then let's go. We have one more person, Laura.
I'll do phone as a document camera for 300.
For 300, all right. Because these applications connect over Wi-Fi, a student could do this undesired action.
Connect their own phone or device over the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yep, exactly. You nailed it.
Alright.
That one was tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kanea again.
Phone. Let's do mute for 300.
Mute for 300. All right. If you do not want participants to be able to unmute themselves, make sure to unclick this button.
The mute, so the mute all, I think because they have like a mute all permanently one, right? Or
Mhm. Okay.
so to unclick that one, allow participants to mute.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Naima.
Can I have jokes for 100?
Jokes for 100. All right. What do you call a bear without teeth?
I don't know.
It's sweet.
It's sweet, and you might have gotten one for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
What? I don't know.
And anybody can jump in. If you think you have the clue, you can jump in.
It's not actually that common of a Halloween candy, but.
Oh, no. All right, revealing in 3, 2, 1.
That's a good.
All right, and Gabby.
Participation engagement for 300.
Oh. All right. This one is to play music only. Click these settings in share screen.
Audio only. Exactly.
Yay.
Okay.
Awesome. Laura.
I'll do participation engagement for 400.
All right. This is the maximum number of answers that can be offered in a single poll question.
Is it 10?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Nailed it. Cool.
All right. Well, if you, Emily, and if you wanted to do another.
Yeah, I pasted. Yeah, I can. We can wrap up because we've got only a few more minutes. But I pasted the link to the Jeopardy generator that Peter used to create that, and it's free, right? You make an account and you can make any topics, and you know, it would be handy to use in-person teaching and virtual. I think it's a really great way. So we wanted to just kind of share that as a favorite resource out to everybody there too. Rolling into actually talking about general resources. Again, we'll share these all out with everybody who registered, but all of the, I'll update it this week, but all of the links and everything we've shared are at this tiny URL I made that is Virtual Warriors, tinyurl.com/Virtual Warriors. So you can find that stuff in a folder that's shared for everyone. Some other things, there's also this document that has this info, including all of the Zoom resources that I have on my website, which is right here, including all of these slide shares and some recorded videos of workshops I've done, and all the information that I have compiled throughout months now of working on Zoom stuff in the pandemic. One that might be super useful, I think this is probably like potentially the most useful thing I will ever create in my entire life, is this Zoom settings slide deck. And it's basically just screen captures of what the settings look like and what they mean and why I have them set that way. So if you are ever like, wait, how do I get those nonverbal feedbacks where I can have the students raise hand, you can look through this, open up your own account, compare it with what I've shared here, and there's information there. I'd be happy to connect with anybody if they have questions or want to practice things. I know Gabby mentioned like, oh, I want to jump on and practice that. I am happy to facilitate, like be the other person who's like, yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, I can see it now. Try clicking over here if you'd like to. I have a Calendly set up where at any point you can just schedule around my calendar to make a free 30-minute appointment with me. So I'll paste that in the chat too. And I shared my email address as well. And we'll be sharing out contact info. And I know that the Generation Thrive has a bunch of other really great workshops that they're coordinating with Be the Change. So I'm going to paste that link in chat right here as well. But yeah, at this point, if you have a question about Zoom specifically, I can probably answer it really easily, or it's really important for me to know that, you know, if you're struggling with it, other people are too. So I'd love to like play around and try to figure out the answer with you. So please don't hesitate to reach out and be a resource. I love hearing how people are using all of these tools and making their teaching better. So any other last questions, resource share, comments? It's been great. I know it was a long training and it's a long day, long Tuesday, but thank you for staying with us and hope it was useful. I think you can save the chat file if you're joining from a computer. I can, and I'm a co-host. If you click on the more with the down arrow, there's save chat, and that'll pull down the chat file in your documents folder. So that's a little bit easier than trying to copy and paste everything out.
I just saved it because I was writing stuff.
Perfect. Yeah.
Well,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Naima. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. Thank you.
Great. Good. That's what we're
Thank
here
you for everything.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work. Yeah, have a good rest of your day.
Yeah.
You too. Bye.
Thanks, y'all. Cool. I don't know where Ashley went.
Oh yeah,